What if the next major healthcare breakthrough won't come from the real patient data, but from the data that doesn't even exist? Data that's completely artificial, yet statistically identical to the real thing.
Welcome back to AsembleAI. I'm Sam with Mac, exploring how AI is revolutionizing patient care through synthetic data. The statistics said that by 2024, 60% of all data used to train healthcare AI was synthetic, and the numbers keep going up. And the market is exploding from $350 million in 2023 to $2.34 billion by 2030. That's a staggering number. So before we jump into talking about more numbers, Mac, I'm going to ask you, what is this data problem we are talking about in this episode? Why do we need synthetic data in the first place in order to carry forward our AI in healthcare journey?
Sam, you have raised a very valid point. Healthcare has a massive data problem, and AI needs huge amounts of patient data to work, but HIPAA and GDPR make accessing it incredibly difficult because healthcare data needs to be compliant. For good reason, the 2024 Change Healthcare Act exposed data from 190 million Americans, more than half of the US population. So healthcare breaches now cost 11.07 million almost dollars per incident, the most expensive sector for 14 consecutive years. So ideally, since data is a pivotal character for the pharmaceutical industry, and is also it's highly regulated industry. So that's why the bigger problem is coming to that when we are dealing with the data, especially in the pharmaceutical industry.
Yeah, I think I totally agree with you because at the end of the day, without diverse patient data, it's difficult for AI to learn to diagnose or predict outcomes or even, predict personalized treatments, right? So you need to make sure that you're feeding each and every data elements from different scenarios to the AI. It's really hard when you have all these data constraints that hindering your progress or getting sufficient data to train your AI model. Like traditional anonymizations removes identifying information, but it also removes valuable statistical nuances AI needs. That's why that approach is not working anymore. And I believe that's where this synthetic data entered. Instead of real patient records, researchers generate completely artificial patient data, mimicking real populations' statistical properties. Like if 30% of real patients have a condition, synthetic data reflects that. But every record is fabricated. That means we can circumvent any potential like a data security related concerns.
Absolutely, Sam. So we explained that how synthetic data it's going to work for the data issue, for the data problem. Now let's talk about how it is created. What is the reasons for this data anomalies part? So how do you even create fake patients statistically identical to the real ones? Of course, generative AI, specifically generative adversarial networks and autobahn coders. Two-step on my knowledge. First, a generative model studies real patient data and learning patterns like how age correlates with blood pressure. Second, it generates entirely new records. Following those patterns, artificial but statistically useful means that whatever we are getting out of it, like these are, even though it looks like statistically identical to the real ones, but definitely it's not the real one. It's actually that we are getting out of it through the generative AI model. What do you say?
Yeah, thanks, Mac, for explaining this process very simplified way. Because at the end of the day, we want our listeners to understand how the synthetic data gets generated. So it's a combination of GAN, which also we can call as a generative adversarial networks, and also the variational autoencoders. And these two are very known a term for anybody in the generative AI and LLM phase. So it's like more on, like I would say that generative AI and LLM is nothing but just it's opening the doorway to build something not from the scratch, but generate something that based on what is already out there. So in the sense, we are mimicking the data, but also we are not exactly creating some real data that can at least violate some sort of a data security policies, right? So I can give you an example to our listeners. Companies like Syncora.ai use autonomous AI agents that automatically inspect and synthesize complex healthcare data, capturing subtle correlation basic method miss. And that those kind of informations are, those are like really good information for any R&D scientist or anyone working in those research lab, influencing the drug discovery or any healthcare research. And I would like to know more from you, Mag, because there is a potential of this particular AI boom to get expanded a lot. It's probably going to generate more and more money. And there's a projection out there. And Mac, would you like to share that projection with our listeners?
Absolutely, Sam. And before going further to our audience, please subscribe to our channel, Assemble AI, for the Spotify and also for our YouTube channels. Please also subscribe to our Substack newsletter as well. Also, let us know that is there any other topics that you want to listen, and also share your feedback as well. Also, give us reviews. To your question, Sam, about the growth, what is the projected growth? I think the global AI healthcare market is growing in a rapid rate from $26.6 billion in 2024 to 187.7 billion by 2030, nearly 39% annually. Think about that way. I think it is surpassing every other industry.
Yeah, great. Healthcare is
Synthetic
a big
data is a
industry.
major driver, and also leading medical centers show AI trend on synthetic data performs comparably to real data. So why is like that level of growth in, especially in the AI in healthcare sector? I think the reason is that, first of all, especially the healthcare industry is overall, Sam, you know that it's a kind of slow mover as compared to financial or retail industry. So
There
that
are so many guardrails, so many security protocols around.
absolutely. And also for the compliance. So
Mhm.
that's one of the reasons that whenever they got, like something to boost the entire AI healthcare to faster process, like in our previous episode that we talk about that drug discovery, FDA approval, for that. So we definitely need that something to boost to speed up the process in the healthcare industry. And especially with so many compliance, so many data issue. So that's one of the reason. And the second thing is that we also want to touch in this regard about the transforming care as well. So Sam, we want to know, and also we want to discuss as well, like AI healthcare's spending hit. It's 1.4 billion in 2025 and nearly triple 2024. Ambient scribes alone generated $600 million, growing 2.4 times year over year. So, what is your perception on that? Like, about these AI tools, like how they are behaving and what could be the potential driving factor for them? What do you think?
Yeah, this is another area within the healthcare sector that AI can potentially tap in because there is a huge opportunity over there. Like, for example, we can build some sort of an AI tool that can help automatically generate clinical notes from doctor-patient conversations. They can directly addressing some clinical burnout, and also it can help addressing some data quality issues because we often notice that when doctor patient conversation get noted down by a human and sometimes we've seen some incorrect information being noted down and that's eventually passed into the system. Utilizing AI could prevent that. We can also think about like the providers, the healthcare providers, excessive times and documentation. They can also training these AI systems requires thousands of patient doctor interaction and synthetic data can solve that. Think about like, we are generating like thousands and thousands of synthetic documentation that captures patient data conversations, but they are not real. And you can feed those conversation patterns to an AI model that will help that system to capture real patient doctor conversation in a clinic and helping them to document those processes in an automatic or autonomous manner. And that will it'll be a huge time saver. And even any clinic would love to have that kind of system in place. So I would say that there's a huge opportunity out there. And we know that by August 2024, FDA already authorized like 950 AI powered medical devices, mostly for detection and diagnosis. And synthetic data are kind of enables those system to operate at a large scale. Like for rare diseases with limited real data, researchers now generate using synthetic data defined cases, train the AI model, because it's hard to get real data for rare diseases, right? Because there are not many patient records out there. And synthetic data solving that problem and helping the researcher to build AI model that can mitigate those issues. So overall, it's kind of like AI impacting a lot in the transformative care sector of healthcare as well. And so not only that other areas are getting benefited from AI, it's also the transformative care, which is the real patient facing sector, are getting transformed by AI as well.
Phenomenal, Sam. I think the way you explained that clarifies a lot of things, especially like the doctor patient conversations, right? I think we are in US, but there are a lot of other countries out there that there is a doctor patient conversations that it's going on, and and it's totally waste of excessive time on documentations. Like, so overall, I mean, those systems, I mean, so many interactions, it is just simply killing the time. So I think that is definitely be a game changer, for the AI powered medical devices. And also, I would want to add here the care navigation platforms like Hippocratic AI created a $50 million plus market growing 5 times year over year. I mean, they manage patient communication, calling with results, scheduling follow ups, coordinating care. So think about that. Like, these are purely phenomenal. The way they're operating, way they're increasing efficiency. I mean, it's a purely game changing. Also, you can look for the virtual assistants, right? I mean, virtual assistants enhance accessibility. Studies show that patients are more willing to engage with robotic therapists for sensitive issues like substance abuse or mental health. Anonymity reduces stigma. You know, these are like very faster services, I think, and since they already have the data, they can read the data. They can go patient by patient. And I think that's purely very fascinating. So share your thoughts, Sam, on this.
Yeah, definitely. But one thing I wanted to share is that, just to kind of like, get to the next section of this episode, I know we are talking about the revolutionary factor that synthetic data bringing in the AI and healthcare, but it also comes with challenges. And one of the factor here is the bias inheritance. Because just to give you an example, if original data underrepresents ethnic groups, women or elderly patients, synthetic data replicates those biases. So that's one of the challenges that we need to mitigate. At the end of the day, synthetic data is also learning from the original data. And healthcare already has massive disparities, right, when it comes to data. So biased synthetic data produces uneven prediction and maybe it's potentially discriminatory recommendation, right? So we need to watch out for that. I mean, any AI researcher building their AI system based on synthetic data need to make sure that their data is unbiased. At the end of the day, if data is biased, the clinical accuracy drops for underrepresented population, increasing legal exposure because you don't want someone to kind of like, file a lawsuit against your AI system because it's providing outcomes which is biased to certain ethnic groups and communities. But that's something we need to watch out for. So whoever here working in the AI and healthcare sector, working on synthetic data, should keep in mind that the data needs to be scrutinized and validated, make sure there is no bias there. Mac, I would love to hear your thoughts on that how we can mitigate some of these synthetic data challenges.
Absolutely. And Sam, you also brought a very important point as well. So I want to add, actually, it means that what you just explained, that implementing AI, I think it's more important. Like, we are using that, how we are processing the synthetic data, because if data is the king always, and as you explained, like biased data, so that actually even eventually create potential risk for all the AI devices, and also it could be a potential liability for all those doctors, and all those hospitals, those who are, or also the medical clinics, like who are using those AI devices. So the potential fix, actually, we definitely need to spend more time and more money, more resources to clean the data. I mean, to get it unbiased. That's one of the thing, and I think often we have a challenge. Especially the problem is that if we have already unbiased synthetic data, and the problem exists. Now, if we are switching the model, let's say, from one LLM to another LLM, so it is this biasness of the data, it's also transferring to another model, right? So that's one of the things that I have seen a lot of time, like there is an issue with that. So when we are switching models, LLM, because LLM models are actually, they are upgraded almost every 3 months. So when we are switching the models, we need to make sure that we first fix if there is any kind of data anomalies or any kind of data issues. That is the number one thing. And you also need to understand that regulators are still in developing guidance, right? I mean, the European health data space, like which entered force in March 2025, aims for unified data markets, right? So synthetic data is the key, but must be generated carefully.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So just to wrap up this very thoughtful conversation, I mean, where does synthetic data fit in the future? And my takeaway here is by 2026, we could see over 40% of AI powered clinical trials and diagnostic tools rely on it. Maybe not to that full extent, but at some point of time in the process, they will utilize synthetic data to train their AI models. And that number will rise in upcoming years. It is because at the end of the day, it is the privacy safe solution healthcare needs, protecting patients while enabling innovation. Leading hospitals, pharma companies, and AI developers are already using it to improve patient outcomes. So that's my honest takeaway here, that the uses of synthetic AI data in the AI sector will eventually rise further. I'm going to pass it back to Mac to wrap up this discussion.
Absolutely, and I think you already explained very well. And for those like who adopt early, will have strong advantages. And for our next episode, we'll be covering how AI is revolutionizing the building blocks of life. So thanks for joining Assemble AI. And as I mentioned earlier, please subscribe to our newsletter. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and also our podcast episode. Also give us feedback, give us comment, and also let us know what kind of topics that you want to discuss. Until next time, keep questioning and exploring where science meets storytelling. Thank you.
Thank you.